I'm doing a skin giveaway every single patch on my Discord. I also give a lot of great advice on Discord, so if you're interested in joining a Wild Rift community, please use the link below and join. What is up YouTube, I'm Royal, I'm rank 1 Wild Rift, and welcome to my tier list for patch 6.0b. So this patch was quite small, it's only been like a week since last patch, but there were some decent changes. So just going straight into the Baron lane, Riven received some massive buffs for Baron lane specifically, and a slight nerf in theory for jungle on her clear speed on her first ability. However, this will change. This will be a buff for both Baron lane and jungle in reality. And Riven definitely enters the god tier in the Baron lane. If you guys watched my stream recently, I had some really good Riven plays. The champion is just overloaded with damage, and once you get your ult, you can one-shot even tanks. Rumble also received a buff, and I think he was in the S tier last patch as well. However, this buff is definitely going to help him in a lot of matchups, and I really debated putting him into God tier. However, I don't think that he necessarily belongs there. However, he's definitely a strong S tier champion. Camille received a small nerf, which is going to make her hard matchups even harder, and I don't think she can be considered God tier anymore. However, she's still a great pick, especially if you're playing duo queue with a jungler or someone else, because she's great at picking champions off with her ultimate. Urgot received a slight buff, however that's not really going to be enough to push him into any sort of dominant position in the Baron lane. However, it is noteworthy. Kayle received some actually pretty bad nerfs, and she was already not great in the Baron lane because there's just too many hard matchups. So now she's going to be pushed even further down. Moving on to the jungle, and we see a Mumu drop down to S tier. He did get nerfed pretty heavily. However, he's still, I think, a top 5 junglers. Like, out of the S tier junglers, a Mumu is definitely really good. So don't count him out, and if you've been playing a Mumu, now he will be banned a lot less. So you should keep abusing him in ranked. He's still a great pick. These nerfs definitely don't destroy him. I wonder if it's better to actually max his W now, or his second ability, instead of his third, because that will definitely improve your clear speed quite a bit. A champion that has joined the god tier is Zed. After the buffs to Zed on his energy consumption, the champion literally has no energy issues, and you can just keep spamming his abilities. In the late game, when your ulti has like a 20-second cooldown, you can just spam all your abilities over and over, especially if you get Spear of Sojin, and it feels like you're playing Earth. It's actually insane. So I definitely think that he should be in the god tier, despite a lot of people telling me that they don't think he's as strong as I make him out to be. However, I strongly believe Zed is the second best jungler right now. Echo continues to be the best jungler. Of course, he hasn't received any nerfs, and he's just really strong. But keep in mind that all the junglers in the S tier are still great options to carry games with. Kayle has dropped into A tier from S tier after these nerfs. Jungle is probably still her best role, I think, but the nerfs definitely will hold her back quite a bit. Evelynn has been slowly receiving buffs. She received another buff this patch. However, it's still really not enough to be a dominant assassin jungler. I think her damage in the mid to late game is still just not high enough to keep up with other assassins. However, if you do enjoy Evelynn, I think she's actually more viable now after these buffs. She's actually an okay, decent pick to play. Moving on to the mid lane, and of course we don't have too many changes. Rumble has joined the S tier. The god tier champions are actually some of my main champions. You guys have seen me play them a lot on stream, especially Kassadin. If you can get Kassadin in a good game, he's just absolutely disgusting. I mean, he's my most played champion this season. I'm sure you guys have seen me play him a lot, and you know how highly I value him. In the S tier, it's mostly mages, right? These mages like Syndra, Veigar, Morgana. I consider Corki to be kind of a mage too. Victor, all of these champions are just so powerful in the late game, and it's so easy for them to scale into the late game. The assassins that you see in S tier like Echo and Zed are still really good options because they counter a lot of these mages, right? Yasuo, of course, continues to be S tier with his tank build. He's just very overloaded. The champions in A tier are, of course, always great choices, especially if you're really good with them. So don't be discouraged if your champion or if your main is in A tier. The A tier champions are still really strong. The B tier champions I would avoid playing, however they can still be good in certain situations, and I would stay away from the C tier champions. I've seen a lot of Lucian mid lanes recently and it's really not that strong anymore. Lucian should mostly be played in the duo lane. In the ADC role, a lot of things have changed since patch 6.0 in the ADC role. ADC has become one of these roles where both utility and hyper carries can be really good, which I really like. So if you want to go for a utility ADC like Sivir, Varus, Jhin, you can succeed, but you can also succeed with hyper carries like the Xayah, like the Zeri, like the Kai'Sa. A champion that was buffed this patch is Jinx, and I would like to highlight that I actually think Jinx is quite strong now. The mana changes actually do help her quite a bit, since she was one of the few champions in the game that has mana issues. And honestly, removing that will allow her to abuse her rockets a lot more in the laning phase and later on. So she's not running out of mana in teamfights and she can keep spamming her rockets. In the laning phase, she can farm a lot more safely with her rockets as well. While it might not seem like a big buff, it actually helps a lot, and I even considered putting her in S tier. But I definitely think that the S tier champions might be a little stronger than her. So if you do like Jinx, because I know that a lot of players love Jinx, but they think she's too weak to play, this patch I actually think she's a good choice. Moving on to support, there haven't been any major changes except Soraka getting nerfed. Those Soraka nerfs are actually quite big. Adding a second to her heal is pretty insane, right? Like, think of it this way, right? Her heal used to be 3 seconds and now it's 4 seconds. That's an extra 25% less healing that she's gonna be doing throughout the fight. So the nerf is actually really big, especially in those late game teamfights. And Soraka kind of relies on her heal. It's like her main ability, right? So that nerf is actually quite big. And I do recommend, if you were a Soraka player, to kind of play Janna or Sona, which have similar playstyles, but will probably be more useful. The god tier supports, of course, Blitzcrank, Ornn, and Pyke continue to dominate. Blitzcrank and Pyke can really just solo carry games with some good hooks or some good grabs, and Ornn just has so much value with his engage and his passive. He's just so tanky after the durability patch. Of course, he was god tier in the Baron lane, and he will continue being god tier in support as well. And support is one of those roles where you can really shine with any type of champion, engage, mage, or enchanter. Right now the meta has many good engage champions, many good supportive enchanter champions, and many good mages like Zyra. Zyra is an absolutely really good support right now. You just have to pick them in the right situations, right? With the Braum, for example, you don't want to be picking Braum versus enchanters. You don't want to be picking Braum versus Soraka, right? You're never going to be able to kill her. You want to pick Braum versus engage champions to counter their engages, right? And when you play mages, right, if you're going to pick Zyra, don't pick her into Blitzcrank or Pyke, right? Try to pick Zyra into something like a Soraka or a Sona or a Janna and dominate the laning phase. So as long as you pick the right support, anything can really work, as long as you pick in the right matchup, right? That's my tier list for patch 6.0b. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below what champion you're currently abusing to climb. Make sure you join my Discord for the giveaway and to keep discussing the patch and updates. Thank you so much for watching.